All right, welcome back to Buy Now, Sell Now. We're now joined by a very important management. Rashesh Shah, who's the chairman and CEO of the Edelweiss Group, is now with us. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show. Thank you for taking out the time to chat with ET now. So, let's begin with the most recent news. How do the EFSL shareholders benefit from this partnership? Wouldn't listing the wealth business unlock shareholder value as well? And how does the majority stake here help?
Absolutely. As you see, over the last few years, we have been working on 2-3 parameters. One has been to make the businesses more simpler. We are a diversified financial services group, and we have asset management, wealth management, retail credit, wholesale credit, life insurance, general insurance. These are the 6 verticals in Edelweiss, and our approach has been to make this more and more simple. So as you know, about a year and a half ago, we had put asset and wealth management together and basically carved that out of the other businesses of Edelweiss. And now we are carving out the wealth management. So idea is that each of these businesses is now of a significant size and scale, like the wealth management business, which is only one of the 6 businesses in Edelweiss, is now valued at 4,500 crore in this transaction. As a result of that, our idea would be to get this to a demerger, get it listed, and give free shares to our shareholders so that the Edelweiss shareholders can have direct ownership in the exciting growth of the underlying businesses. So I think idea is to make the business a lot more simpler, create the pieces which are still have a lot of growth ahead of them, and enable the shareholders to participate directly in that.
All right, so thanks for stating the value proposition there. But, talking a little bit about the investors, Edelweiss has at various points brought in global investors. This definitely wouldn't be the first time. So we've seen it quite consistently over the last few years. What was the particular chain of thought or thought trend behind this particular investor, apart from the fact that they can bring in capital, of course?
So, as you know, we started Edelweiss 25 years ago with only 1 crore of equity capital. We are all first generation entrepreneurs. We are all professionals. We are not part of a big business house. So we don't have capital sources that we can keep on injecting capital. We don't have multiple businesses where we can release capital and put. So Edelweiss, we started with 1 crore. In this Edelweiss wealth management business, we started this business about 20 years ago when we acquired a company called Roshni for about 8 crores. And that 8 crores of investment we made 20 years ago is today worth 4,500. We can get partners who can bring in capital because, as you know, financial services needs people, great management team, great culture, but also capital. So our approach has been, we bring all the other strengths in India, and if we get the right partners who bring in the capital support to this, the businesses can grow a lot. And that is what we have demonstrated again and again in our asset management business, in our ARC business, in our life insurance business, where also we got Tokio Marine as a partner, and that business has been growing very well, including in this first quarter. So our idea is that being professionals, being first generation entrepreneurs, we should partner with people who have the capital, and we bring in our management team and the Edelweiss culture to build some great businesses. And this Edelweiss Wealth Management is an example of that. This is one of the 6 businesses we have. And as I said, we started this business 20 years ago with 8 crores of capital. So 8 crores of capital, if we can convert it into 4,500 of value now, with a lot of growth available in the future, and now distribute our holding to our shareholders so that they can participate directly in a standalone independent entity, I think it's a great way of building businesses and rewarding shareholders.
Good morning, Mr. Shah. This is Cheryl also joining in. Your wealth management business has been doing extremely well. So why do you feel that this is the right time to bring PAG on board?
So I think PAG is a very leading franchise in Asia. They have invested in financial services business across Asia and done very well. When we talk to their investee companies, they've added a lot of value. So I think private equity firms, good quality. And in this deal, at least we were very fortunate. We had choice amongst 2-3 of the leading private equity firms who were keen on that, because they can help you build these businesses. They can provide capital support, obviously is required, but they can also bring the professional rigor, the governance structure to take it and make it independent. Currently, if you look at Edelweiss in the first 25 years, we've been like a joint family system. All the businesses have been housed under the same umbrella, and we have grown very well. We built some great businesses. But the stage at which we are now, when we look up the next 25 years, each business now needs its own space to stand on, its own capital availability, its own structure, its own maybe listing in the market, and having a good private equity partner, somebody like PAG, will allow this business to not only grow a lot faster, but go to its own logical conclusion. It also gives us a lot of capital and currency for acquisitions if you want to make that. So this is truly the time where, your kids have grown up and now they need their own independence. And we at Edelweiss have always been very amenable to that. We don't believe in keeping things under the same roof. If the business can grow much better with a strong partner, with being independent, it will be a great value added for everybody, including Edelweiss shareholders and the management team. So as you see, this is a very unusual decision. Usually spin-offs and demergers are not a very usual decision because you lose control in that. But we think control is not as important as value creation and growth. And getting a good partner allows us to take it to the next higher heights in this business.
Mr. Shah, are you actually looking at more such transactions in the future as well?
I think, as you know, the last couple of years, all of us have needed capital, and because of COVID, we are seeing all the banks are also raising equity capital. So this transaction also gives us equity capital at a group level, also allows us to continue to make investments in other businesses which are in their growth phase. I think after this, we should have more than sufficient capital. As you know, our capital adequacy is very high. We have enough liquidity on the balance sheet now. So I would feel after this, our needs are done. But in a lot of this, we don't do this only for capital. As I said, you need capital, you need a great partner, you need the ability to build business independently. So we always look for partnerships. So in the businesses, in specific businesses, we'll always be open to partnerships. A lot of people approach us, and we do believe that the best way to build businesses is having great partners who bring the capital strength, expertise, strategic focus, and allow the businesses to grow on their own. Because independent partners also bring a lot of strategic focus to their business, because like PAG will focus on how do we grow the wealth management business. Edelweiss has a lot of businesses, so we spend so much attention on each business, but having a dedicated partner who's put a lot of money into the business, they will be very focused on growth of this particular business, and that itself is a big advantage, because as you know, management bandwidth and focus is as important for scaling up businesses as anything else. So currently we will have enough capital, we'll have enough liquidity after this, that we have enough growth capital for all of our businesses for the next few years. We wanted to be capital surplus, and with this deal we will become capital surplus. So having got that out of the way, we will always be open to partnerships, but for various other reasons.
Right, Mr. Shah. You just mentioned we have enough capital. The capital adequacy is fine. So, keeping it with this theme and subject, we wanted to get a sense from you of banks fundraising. Now, why are banks then, who have similar prospects that you just mentioned, sufficient capital adequacy, no real urgent growth capital required, so why are they raising money? And is it because credit cost is spiking? And if credit cost is not spiking, then why are they raising money?
I think everybody is doing two things. I think one is, as you very correctly said, I think people are building defenses for any spike in credit cost. We do think that there will be an increase in impairment and credit cost. It will be about 1 to 2% of their total assets. And if you see, most of the banks are raising 2 to 4% of their assets as equity. So I think banks are raising enough equity to take care of the increased impairment. It will not be a crazy amount, but it will be 1 to 2% of their total assets across the board. This is a very broad approximation I would give. I think we are also, like at least in Edelweiss, we are raising this money also for future growth. A lot of our thinking has been post-March 2021, because as you know, COVID will get over it sometime. At some point of time, There will be a vaccine, COVID will get over. From that point of time, when growth comes back, how strong are you? Because coming out of a crisis, if you have enough resources, enough capital, it's much easier to capture growth. So our whole focus has been post-March 2021, by which time we feel COVID will be behind us. Do we have enough ammunition? Do we have enough financial strength? Do we have enough ability to really capture growth when it comes? And I think a lot of this equity raising is also for that, not just for the COVID impairment, but also with an eye to future growth, because having capital, having businesses which are aligned for growth, having a strong balance sheet will be a huge factor when growth comes back again.
Mr. Shah, all the markets have recovered. So can you talk about funding of MF for bond markets, also the difference from AAA and A? And do you actually think that it needs to correct for the NBFCs to grow once again?
It's starting to happen. I think it will take time. You are very right. I think and you said between AAA and A, but I think between AAA and even AA, the spreads are much higher than what they should be normally, because I think the markets have got dislocated. See, India still doesn't have a very evolved bond market, and this is all bond market. So if you look at bank credit has been flowing very well, and banks are having a lot of liquidity. We ourselves have raised a lot of liquidity from banks in the last couple of months. Bond markets are still very dislocated. There is a panic, and after the incidents in the mutual fund where some funds were closed down, there is a sense of panic out there. And what happened 2 years ago with the IL&FS, which was an NBFC kind of a liquidity crisis, got translated into a bond market liquidity crisis. And I think that just happened a few months ago. So I think it will take another couple of quarters for bond markets to come back to normalcy. But at the moment, bond markets are very dislocated. There is a lot of irrational pricing also still visible in the bond markets. And I think this could be an opportunity for India to really get the bond markets also deep and liquid and get there, because we can't only work on the bank market. We need the bond markets to work well. But currently, bond markets are in a sense of there is a panic, there is a fear, there is a complete risk aversion out there. And I would say in any economy, it's not normal times for bond market when a AAA can raise money, but the normal times are when a BBB can raise money. So when you said NBFCs will be able to raise money at will, I don't think it's just about NBFCs. When a BBB, because a BBB is also investment grade. So when a BBB can raise money, a company like us which are AA minus rated, we should be able to raise money at free. But even lower rated companies which are investment grade should find it easy to raise money at a price. And that I think is at least another 2-3 quarters away. I hope our bond markets recover, because that will be very critical for the economy to start growing.
So leading on from what you just said, can you talk about this risk aversion in bond markets a little more? Do you think there's perhaps a panic which got created so that maybe this marks the bottom and in future investors will emerge stronger? Because the underlying financial strength of some of these lower rated corporates is still pretty decent. So why should it be so difficult for them to raise money?
Absolutely. I started my career 30 years ago, and in 30 years I've seen a lot of upheaval in Indian markets, in the banking sector, in the equity markets, in the bond markets and all. And one thing has been unequivocal, one thing has been sure all the time, that whenever there has been a crisis, India has actually become stronger after that. So every time there is a dislocation like this, there's a crisis like this, it is an opportunity to clean up a lot of things, to make structural changes and take this market to a greater height. So I do think the troubles of the bond market, the mutual fund industry and the bond market of late are a great opportunity for us to go down to the basics, think about what is required to build really breadth and depth in the bond markets in India. And I do think I've seen this in equity markets very often. We have had our own crisis in equity market, but at the end of every crisis, equity market has become stronger. And I do think this crisis in the bond market is also a great opportunity to revive. And as I've said, this is a liquidity crisis. I think from a credit cost point of view, a few companies will default, but anywhere in the world, that is usually the portfolio effect takes over. When you have, it's like when you buy a portfolio of equity shares, some will do well, some will not do well. The same thing happens in should happen in bond markets. But I think our investors, also media, I must say, that can create a lot of panic. That any upheaval in the bond market is seen as a big crisis and it is played up and all. I think there will be maturity, calmness that will come to the market, and as it comes, I think a new era for bond markets will start in India. I do think the next 3-4 quarters, RBI, SEBI, regulators, government, everybody will work together. There's a lot of thinking going on. And I remain very confident that the learnings of the last few quarters will be very useful in building a very robust bond market.
So Shah, we leave it at there. Thank you for joining us and giving us the details and the rationales behind the PAG deal, also talking about the bond market with us. Let's shift focus now to an ET Now exclusive. Earlier this week, a veteran